It's time now for Teen Christian Ministries Live with your hosts, Larry Roy and Leslie Lamb. Larry and Leslie are in the studio. Let's join them now for TCM Live.
Hey guys, we want to welcome you to TCM Live. I am Larry.
And I'm Leslie.
And Leslie, I'm going to tell you what, you are very excited about this show, aren't you?
I am. We have the Slossons on today, and they're going to talk about Cedar Springs.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'll tell you what, I actually coached out at Cedar Springs one time. It's a little known fact that I'm a basketball guru.
Oh, really?
No, not really. My son played basketball, and they needed a coach, and I volunteered for the real little ones, you know. I think some of I don't remember how old they were. I'm talking like, 8 years old. And I think they knew more about basketball than I did. But we had a great time, and this memories I'll always carry with me.
Well, I met Terry and Tammy in 1994.
Wow.
I know some of our people that are watching are like, I wasn't even born yet. But yeah, 1994, I came back here from Korea to go to college. And a friend of mine took me to a youth group, and Terry was the youth leader there.
Oh, I bet that was awesome.
It was awesome because really it was the first time I had been in a setting where I was in a youth group and my parents weren't the speakers at church. And so he immediately made me feel very welcomed and invited me to do a bunch of things. And I've just never forgotten that. They immediately were very nice to me and made me feel comfortable.
Yeah, something else too, and we're about to have them come on, but something else too, you know, you do not usually meet two people that when you meet both of them together, you just can't picture them apart. You know?
Right.
When you picture Terry, you picture Tammy. When you picture Tammy, you picture Terry. It's just the Slossons, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like I was joking with them before the show, and, you know, their names, I was like TNT Slossonite, you know, which is a poor, you know,
kind of like
Dynamite.
Of
the song Dynamite, yeah. But without further ado, we would like to have them come up now, and they're going to tell us just a little bit more, actually a lot more, about Cedar Springs and the wonderful ministry that they have going on out there.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome to the program.
You never know what Larry's going to say.
Come on with that.
It's all in Larry's brain. Well, we're really glad to have you guys here and to talk about Cedar Springs and the camps that y'all have going there. You know, our heart is definitely for teens and seeing them touched by God and also not only being touched by God, but seeing that they can be used of God. And we believe that you guys do that so well at Cedar Springs. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe how Cedar Springs got started?
Well, Cedar Springs is it's a Christian camp out south of West Monroe, about 15 miles south of West Monroe. And it began in January of '97. Cedar Springs, I don't want to go back too far. When I was born, but no, Cedar Springs, it began in January of '97, but it was an old school before that, Okaloosa School years ago, and then it became the Baptist Associational Camp for a number of years. But then it shut down, but it became Cedar Springs in January of '97. And I tell people that old gym was built in '39. It's a cool old gym. It's kind of got that Indiana Hoosiers kind of feel to it.
It does.
But I tell people that God just wasn't through with that school and that place yet. He had purpose, and God has continued to open up doors of opportunity for both kids to come to camp, churches to come have retreats, and lots of ministries that take place. But I think the thing that's growing most is the opportunity for teens to be used of by God to reach kids that probably typically wouldn't come to camp. We call them our mission camps, and we'll talk about some more about that. But we have ropes challenge course, all the normal kind of camp type things. We have ropes challenge course, swimming pool, lots of woods. We do, you know, all the things like archery and our
summer activities.
Summer staff. I think we're going to develop a mud pit this year. Our summer staff is pretty pumped about a mud pit.
Wow.
So we're branching out, and anyway, some exciting things as far as summer camps and you know, the retreats that we do. So.
Well, we love that. And one of the main camps that you do geared towards teens is SLAM Camp. What does that stand for?
SLAM Camp stands for Student Leadership and Missions Camp.
So what it is during the day we do mission work.
Oh, awesome.
And then in the evenings, we have a speaker and a worship band and the one fun, crazy games and fellowships and all that fun stuff. So, but during the day, we split up. The junior high kids go into the city. We go into Monroe, West Monroe, sometimes even Ruston area, and do mission projects for other Christian ministries.
That's great.
So it's teaching them, how to serve the Lord in their own community. And although we do have some come from other states that, come in and they enjoy ministering here in Monroe too. But the older kids stay at the camp.
Oh,
And they do a camp for inner city kids at Cedar Springs.
that's great.
So we go and get the inner city kids and bring them out to the camp. And the high school kids are able to conduct their own camp during the week. So
That
it's
is
pretty
so
fun.
great. Larry, a lot of times, kids will be like, well, when I get older, I will,
Yeah.
I can do something in service, or I can go on a mission trip when I'm older. But I love that they're saying you don't have to wait till you're older. You can do it right now.
Yeah, and one of the things I like too is you guys, man, you're taking like the Great Commission and you're like going a step further. Not only are you going out to spread the gospel, you're going out, loading them up, you're bringing them back, and you're just filling them full of Jesus right there in just about every possible way you can. And if it's just like every other camp that I've been to, and I'm not trying to make it seem like that camps are just, blah, every other camp. Each camp is special. But if it's like every other camp I've been to, at the end of the night, they're wound up, yet they're so tired, nothing but smiles, and they're ready to go to sleep.
Well, this camp, Larry, it reaches kids, the kids that we go get and bring back are kids that would typically not ever make it to a camp. And we do go out and get them. And if somebody doesn't go get them, they're not just going to show up at camp, or they're not just going to show up at our churches. So it is the Great Commission, going out and finding those pockets of people who need to hear the gospel. But then when we bring them back, Leslie, I was telling you earlier, it's kind of that double-edged type ministry where I see teens that are coming, that are realizing God can use them. It's frustrating because I share the gospel with a kid from inner city and they may not listen to me. But then a teen comes out and shares what God is doing in their heart, and that other teen listens to them.
Right.
Isn't that frustrating?
Right.
Why didn't they hear what I said?
It can be, yeah.
But they realize that God can use them, and then I see a kid being reached and hearing the gospel and God making an impact in their life, and all that taking place in one fell swoop. So that's that double-edged type ministry that I'm talking
and
about.
we're going to be pointing towards this a pretty good bit in the show, but I want to stop right here, and maybe you're watching this and you're really, you're wondering, this sounds pretty cool. I've never heard of Cedar Springs. I don't know how to get in touch with them. Terry, where would they go in order to check you out? Like if they wanted to go on the web, where would they go?
That'd be the best place to go. SeekerSprings.com has all the information about each of our camps, about missions opportunities, about ways to connect. It's got all our contact information, and we would love to talk to you personally. You may be a student leader, or you may be a part of a youth group that you would like to share this as an opportunity for your youth group. All the information is on there, but we would love for you to call us or connect with us, and we'd love to talk with you personally, show you the camp, and talk to you about our heart and what we have feel like the Lord's leading us to do.
Now, you've got a lot of other ministries going on at Cedar Springs, and I don't want to veer too far away from what we're talking about today, but it all does deal with teenagers, young adults. How do the other ministries, and either one of you can answer this, the ministries that you have, how does it all work together? How have you seen it all work together to maybe point towards these camps of what you're talking about? Because I know, I've said, I've been to Cedar Springs. I'm there quite often, especially for basketball, and I see the atmosphere. Our church, Liberty Grove Church of God, goes there for various things throughout the year, for picnics and things like that. And so I see the genuine love of Christ in not only the surrounding area, and people, they think it's funny when they hear that. Well, how can you see the love of Christ in a tree? Man, I'm gonna tell you what. Out of Cedar Springs, if you've never been out there, you can feel God. You can feel the Holy Spirit. How does all of that work together concerning these camps that you're talking about? Do you get people from that come for the basketball, for the various other things? Do they get an interest in being there more often and volunteer for this type of camp? Or?
I'm gonna say one word. And I'm gonna let Tammy speak specifically to some of them, but I think we're student ministers. That's what we grew. That's how we met you, Leslie, and we would take students on mission trips, and we would go all over the country, doing mission work. But we would come back, and we were always burdened about people right here in our own backyard.
Right.
Seeker Springs is a year-round mission opportunity from our perspective. And I know when we would take kids on mission trips, we would go to a place, a community, and we'd pray about how we could penetrate that community with the gospel. You may do backyard Bible clubs, you may do work projects, you may do all of the tools that God has given us, our summer camps, our Ropes Challenge course, our after-school camp, our retreat facilities, everything that comes with retreats, those mission camps, basketball league. We see all of those as tools that God has put in our hands to be able to penetrate our community with the gospel. And so that's our purpose in it. Most of them didn't come from our minds, our thoughts. They would come out of someone else's heart. Hey, have you thought about doing a camp for this? Have you thought about a basketball league? Have you thought about this? And we've been able to help put feet to the things that He's placed on a lot of people's hearts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think that another thing that kind of pulls it all together is it's just that service, just the opportunity to serve, and whether it be and to break away. I think that was the other thing he talked about. So one of our short mission statement is a place to seek God and serve others.
Right.
So we just really see Seeker Springs as that place to break away. And we've had so many people come to the camp and say what you said, that we feel the presence of God here. You can just, it's really a lot about just taking time away and focusing and wanting to feel His presence.
Right.
And so when you're there for whatever reason, you're there to feel Him and to experience Him. And we help that in certain ways because we have unique tools. Like you said, the Ropes Challenge course, you can tell somebody about faith.
Right.
Have faith.
Right.
But you put them on a 35-foot pole and tell them to jump and catch a bar.
Right.
And I got you.
Right.
That's a different aspect of faith.
Certainly
It's an
is,
experiential way of learning. It's something that you remember. You'll never forget it.
Right.
And the other thing about camp, y'all tell me why, but at camp, everything's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why. My child came home from camp one year and Cheez-Its were cool. I have no idea what they did with Cheez-Its, but Cheez-Its were the thing for that whole year, So it's just something about that unique experience of having that temporary community for that short period of time.
Right.
And things, your mind's just opened up to things in a different way.
Right.
It's a really awesome tool. We've always loved it, as youth ministers, and now we just love it as our full-time jobs.
Right. And there's a lot of camps that are available, that all throughout the summer that you can be a part of. But I know, as a parent, I can say this. I'm not going to send my kids somewhere where I don't feel like they're going to be protected. Challenged, yes, challenge them, make them do stuff, step out of their comfort zones, but also knowing that they are going to be under the leadership of people that are going to love on them, that are going to correct them, but correct them in love, people that I don't have to worry that they might, get in a bad situation because they're going to be monitored and they're going to be chaperoned. Right. As a parent, that means so much to me.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Especially in the summer when it seems like that's when our kids are getting in trouble the most because they're bored. What am I going to do with my kid?
They love camp. Just this past weekend, we had a life camp for foster teens. And we were standing on the porch, they were waiting for the ride. They're like, can't we just live here? Do we really have to leave? That's a good indication that they had a wonderful, safe, good experience and that they felt that love, know. And so that's our staff is probably it's our jewel. The summer staff we have are some of the finest young people, godly Christian people that have just, poured their life into these children. It's not a job to them, it's a mission. And so it's awesome the way they do that.
We interview back in January and February. Our summer staff has been hired since February. And we've been training them since then, and it is good. It's students, kind of like I was saying a while ago with teenagers, that connect with these college students do a great job of connecting with. But I hear you from a mom's heart. You want to make sure your kids are taken care of and that they're being, and our staff, we take extra links to make sure that that's the case and make sure we connect with the parents so that they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they're a part of the process. So.
One of the things, especially in today's society, you have so many broken homes. You have so many children that are looking to be loved, just to feel like that they're important, that they're cherished. And from what I can tell, from what I'm hearing from you and what I've heard from other people, that's exactly what they will find at Cedar Springs when they come to these camps. They will find a place that they're accepted and that they're loved and that they can open up and they can really just be themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing that we really try to do here at TCM Live, of course, is we try to prompt people to just simply be themselves, no matter what that might look like. Be honest with themselves, be honest with other people, to open up, because the culture that we live in now, the world, is so full of evil, so full of darkness, so full of deceit, that it is impossible, if you're not grounded in your faith, if you're not surrounded by people that love you, or at least have that one person in your life that you know loves you and will tell you the truth even when it hurts. If you don't have that, the culture is going to get into you. That evil is going to get into you. That the dirtiness of the world is going to get into you. And I know that people who are non-Christians don't quite understand that. I remember before I was in church, I didn't know what the big deal was. Well, being on this side of it now and looking back, I'm like, man, I wasn't a bad person, but man, the world sure had its hooks in me.
Yeah.
And so I can see how coming to your camp, opening themselves up, and a lot of them, I'm sure that you get a lot of tough nuts there. They're tough to crack. They come in, they've been abused, they've been harmed in multiple ways, and when they get there, it takes them just a little bit. But once they realize they're surrounded by people that aren't going to hurt them, and they open up.
Yeah. You said something that you said grounded. Our theme this summer, our focus this summer is Ephesians chapter 3, verses 17 really through 20, and where Paul's praying for the church at Ephesus. And he says, I pray that you being rooted and established in love may have power together with all the saints to grasp how high and how wide and how long and how deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge. Once you're rooted, once you understand Christ's love, and a lot of times that comes when you give of yourself on behalf of someone else. You realize God can use you, and you realize what He's done for you, and it takes. That's the difference. That's where the difference comes in a person's life, and that's what we're about this summer. Rooted is our theme, and that's going to be our focus for summer camp.
And I think one of the pitfalls, I would say, for teens is there's so many distractions. They're distracted at home. They're, come in and they go to their room and they're on their iPods or their phones or whatever, and they're so disconnected and so distracted. But when you go to places like this, you may come kicking and screaming, and I'm not giving up my phone, but you find what you've been missing, that quiet, that stillness that allows the Holy Spirit to talk to their hearts and say, I want to love you. I want to take time with you. I want to show you that the enemy's been lying to you, that there are people who love you, that I love you, and I have a plan for your life, and this is where you find out what that plan is.
Yes.
So I think that's so great.
Yep, and your cell phone won't work as good in the mud pit, so it's
Right.
really best
I know,
just to
I've been
leave
out
it,
there for a basketball game, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I was at a basketball game at Cedar Springs. I'm just now responding.
One of those things I say, where's the phone work? Oh, you stand out in the road, hold your foot up, hold your finger up like this, and then it'll work.
If I may be so bold, I would actually even suggest that that's probably a work of the Holy Spirit.
Probably. Cut the cell phones off.
Exactly. I will not let the enemy penetrate. But that's great. But you guys were talking about what I love about Slam Camp, and I said it before and I'll say it again, is that you're not only ministering to these kids, but you're teaching these kids to minister to others. And that takes them to another level of understanding their own purpose in life. And it gives them the opportunity to say to someone who's their age or younger, I've been there, and that is our thing with TCM. You are not alone. And so that gives them an opportunity to say to these kids who think no one can understand and no one can relate, they can say, I absolutely can. My story may not look the same as yours, but I have had heartache and I have had hurt, or, God has rescued me from this, and I've never had to deal with this because of, whatever it may be. And like you said, as frustrating as it can be, when a teen talks to a teen about what God has done in their life, barriers drop that can't drop from you and I, because we're adults and what do we know?
Yeah. I was asked, what's the greatest fruit or thing that's produced from student ministry? And you do like to see someone come to know the Lord and the difference that makes that He makes in their lives. But when you see a teen lead another teen to the Lord, you know things are happening, because you're seeing both sides of it. You're seeing someone allow God to use them, and then you're seeing someone else receive what the grace that God is offering, and is powerful. So I was kind of being facetious when I said that, but man, no greater joy than to see a teen leading another teen to the Lord, or a person leading another person to the Lord.
Absolutely. And I would say that's one of the greatest fruits of this ministry too, is seeing people that we have helped understand that they are called to live, that God has a purpose for their life, and then see them get involved in ministering to others and saying, look what God did to me, and He can do the same thing for you. And that's such fruit, because you know that the fruit that you bear is going to multiply.
And each teen that comes has different gifts and abilities.
Right.
We're the body of Christ. We're all different. We're not the same. And if you're not alone, but God's gifted you uniquely, and for you not to step forward and allow God to use you, part of the body's missing.
Right.
We need people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the context of the local church, you have people, maybe there's pastors, there's parents, there's grandparents out there watching. They're like, well, my kids or my grandkids or whoever, they go to church some, and I'm sure that helps them. But I was talking to a pastor just the other day that was talking about the fact that he made the mistake when he first went into ministry of doing everything in the church practically. I mean, he would put the bulletins together, and he would put the music together, and he would he would work sound sometimes, and then he would preach. And he realized one day he was talking to one congregation member that could play the guitar and sing, and he happened to find that out. And it's like, well, why aren't you doing it? It's like, well, you seem to be doing a great job. Too many times, without realizing it, even if you're not a pastor, you're a lay leader, maybe you're a congregation member, you're a lay, well, whoever you are in the church, you have that mindset of, well, it needs to be done, so I'll do it. And a lot of times you have enough adults doing that. You take away from developing your pool of talent from your younger kids, from your young adults, from your teenagers. And so a place like Seeker Springs, these camps that they put on are perfect opportunities. I know from camp experience, perfect opportunities to have your kid, your grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, whoever, come to something like this. Give them the option. Maybe with locking the door behind them when you throw them out with their luggage. But, give them the option to come. Tell them, look, you need to come to this. You're going to love it. You're going to have a great time. But more importantly, I don't know if you necessarily want to tell them or not, because if you suggest something to a teen, a lot of times they'll clam up and be like, well, I'm not going to do it. Tell them that they need to go to this to just experience what it's like. And when they get there, that's the beauty on this. When they get there, these programs are designed, these camps are designed to draw out talents, to draw out desires, because they do so many different things. It's not just camp.
Right.
It is an experience with Jesus Christ.
Right.
And it allows these young adults, and I mean young adults, the ones that are counseling, the ones that are over it, they learn more about themselves. They learn more about what makes them tick. They're challenged. And then you have the campers that come themselves, and they learn what they're interested in. Sometimes from the campers, you were talking about, Tammy, about all of a sudden Ritz crackers or whatever you said, Cheez-Its being popular. I've seen it at camp too. If a counselor likes something and thinks it's cool, if it's part of the theme, whatever, all of a sudden that is just the coolest thing in the world.
Right.
And can you imagine if we had Seeker Springs just overrun? I know you guys would probably go crazy, but if they just had it overrun with campers to the point that they all came back from these camps and they were just like, man, you know what, dude, I never thought I'd say this in a million years, but this just God stuff, this is Christ guy, this is some cool stuff. I mean, these people are real. They're not brainwashed, stupid people the way the world calls them. They really care. And can you imagine the fires, the revival fires, if I can use that term, that would happen in our schools and in our homes and in our churches if that were to take place?
What's unique about just something you said made me think about small churches. And there are a lot of small churches, they don't feel like they have a big enough youth group to go to camp, or they may not have a chaperone to take these kids. These individual children are important, and we will allow them to come to our camps without a chaperone, which is a really unique thing.
Very much
so those smaller churches, like in the rural communities, I'm just thinking this is a perfect opportunity. Send 2 or 3 children to this, 2 or 3 teens, and you may start a fire right there in your small community with those 3 seeds, going out. You can change a whole community and a whole set of teenagers. So I just thought about that when he was saying that. I was like, wow, we need to mention that.
Right.
Because so many small churches feel so left out with those big camps. They can't afford them, for one
Right.
thing, because
They're
they're very
more
expensive.
yeah.
And then, having the opportunity to send somebody to leave their job for a week and go can often be a barrier.
Right.
This Slam Camp is not just for youth groups, and it's particularly not just for large youth groups. You may be a teen out there that said, man, I'd love to go, but I don't have a youth group. Or I have a small youth group. Like you said, don't let that be the reason you don't check it out. We would love to talk to you about it. There are opportunities for you, and you're not alone. There are others out there just like you that when we come together, we can accomplish great things for the Lord.
And one of the great things, Terry, that I've noticed, you particularly, I know you don't like people bringing light to you, but I've seen you. Terry, if you don't know Terry Slauson, you should, by the way. But if you don't know Terry, he's one of those type of guys. I've seen it. Terry, I've seen it multiple times. I know you didn't know I was watching. You know that one kid, maybe it's your kid, that kind of filters off and doesn't really hang around anybody and is kind of left out? Terry, and I know he trains his staff this way too, Terry's the type of guy, without making a big deal out of it, he works his way over to them. And before you know it, they're over there laughing and talking, and he'll bring them over to the group or whatever. Terry has got such a calling to do that. He's got such a heart for kids, and Tammy does as well. And those two together, the power of God amplified right there, to be able to make Seeker Springs a place that you can come and to truly be touched. And, what if somebody here in closing, what if somebody called and they wanted to come just check out the facilities? I'm sure you'd rather them call first, because you don't want to go all the way out to Egypt and, nobody be there. But if they wanted to call out there and come check out the place, they could do that?
They've got an opportunity coming up May 17th. We've got what we call Family Day, and we're opening up the zip line. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2 to 7 on May the 17th.
Okay.
Saturday, this coming Saturday, would be a great opportunity to come see the camp, experience part of the camp with the pool's going to be open, the zip line's open. Come check it out, or your youth group or your church may want to come check it out. Come join us, no cost. 2 to 7 on this Saturday, May the 7th.
Okay.
But anytime, you can call, just give us a call. We'd love to set up a time for you to come out and check us out at Seeker Springs.
And
Okay.
you can go to your website,
Yeah,
right?
so I was going to say
Yes,
website.
Seeker Springs.
Seekersprings.com, and there you can register and learn more about the camps.
That's
and
right.
Also, is there a link where if somebody wanted to sponsor some of these kids who can't afford to go, is there a link there where they may be able to do that?
There's a link, one of our tabs is how to get involved. And it's just a great link, because you can donate, of course, donate online, or get the address if you'd rather send or sponsor a kid. For those kids that he was talking about that don't get to come to camp,
Right.
we have sponsorships. We have business sponsorships available, and it's $175 per child.
Oh, great.
For any of those kids. So you can just sponsor a child to come.
Well-
And then you have a link there for a volunteer app too. I was going to tell you that.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I want to let you know that now, according to the Bible, now you're not ignorant, which means lack of knowledge. Now you know about Seeker Springs. You need to check them out. You need to check out what they're doing and how you can get involved, even if it's given $5. Because you know what? That $5, it may not seem like much. It's going to go to help a kid for Jesus Christ. So, as we always see here at TCM Live, you are not alone.